This is some microgreens that we're gonna grow. It's like I don't know. It's a mustard, I think it is, that Donnan planted. And this is actually coconut coir. We're just experimenting with this. Haven't used it before, but it's just the fibrous stuff off the coconuts.
Oh, really?
And they kind of grind it up. And so we're going to test that one out. And it's important to keep covers on things so that they don't have light. So they want to grow towards the light, and they'll actually grow longer and taller when we're cutting for microgreens. If you're growing plants for your garden, you want as much light as possible because you want them to be strong, stock, and sturdy and stout. But for microgreens, it makes it easier to harvest if they're taller. These are some sunflowers. They started.
Oh wow.
So they will get little mold things going on, and usually if I spray them with water, and if there's a pod or a shell that's rotting a little bit, this here is not mold, that's actually roots, those little white guys. So all in all, they're doing pretty good. I'll probably water them here today with a hard stream of water, and it knocks those little fibers back. And sometimes I'll push them in the soil. They need the pressure so they can get into the soil. So that's why I put this on top of them. And if I don't have something to keep the moisture in, because we've got the fan going, the little roots will actually dry out and then they won't grow. So that's what that's about. These are actually lemons that I started from seed, just from your regular store-bought organic lemons.
Oh, really?
So, you know, I started 6 of them, and obviously one of them's doing better than the others, so it's kind of fun to start things. And they grow pretty fast. I actually readjusted this last night, but they're probably about ready to remove this. And then what I'll do is I'll put plastic over them like this. I'll either do that. I want to keep them in the dark, or we can take and we can put this over the top of them, and they'll grow up and lift that up, and then you can take it off and let them grow. And they'll grow, you know, about that tall, say, and they're really tasty. They're kind of fatty and creamy, and I'll share some of those with you. Have you had sunflower greens before?
No.
Okay.
Just the seeds.
Okay. Over there in the corner, I'm growing pea shoots, and those taste like snow pea pods. So they're another thing that's pretty simple to grow. And it's a wintertime green. You know, you can do this on your table in your house. It doesn't take any special light bulbs. Whatever comes in a window, you could get a fluorescent light, just something to green them up a little bit. So, you know, if we're in the north and we can't, like outside, I couldn't live off of my garden there. But I can grow things, you know, like this, and I can be harvesting a tray every day. You know, that's a lot of food. That's 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. Not very many people eat 2 pounds of greens a day, you know. And it's, you buy the soil once, and you put it in a barrel or a trash can or something like that, and you compost it back, and it breaks back down. All the roots and things break down to soil again, and there you go again. And you add a few minerals or some rock dust or something into it. We use ocean water. So we dilute ocean water.
That's something that we were wondering about from your email. Well, where do you get the ocean water? Because we're Idaho, Washington, Oregon border.
Right. So there's a couple of sources. You can actually buy ocean water, which is water. They'll send it to you in a gallon jug or a 5-gallon, I don't know their name. You can do searches for it. And we've used some of that. But what I use now is C90. It's a sea salt that comes from Sea of Cortez in Mexico. They bring the seawater into ponds, and the sun dehydrates it down into crystals. And I get a 40-pound bag. There's a guy south of Portland that sells it. If you were there, you could go pick it up. There's a guy in the valley here that uses it in his compost, and so he gets it by the pallet, and I'm friends with him, so I buy it from him. And it's reasonably priced, and I mix it in water to, right now with the sunflowers, I'm doing 5,000 parts per million. I have a TDS meter, and so it's like to test how hard your water is. So the sunflowers are pretty tough, you know. 5,000 parts per million would probably, well, it would kill the lettuce for sure. It would kill basil. The peas would be fine. Trees might be fine. Some trees will take maybe 3,000 parts per million, you know. The way I water my sunflowers is actually take the tray. One thing that I have found with my sunflowers that, well, I can show you with this one. This is an older tray. I harvested it. I'm trying to get, you know, a couple more off of it just as an experiment. It's really not worth it. Just because I have the space in the greenhouse, I just put it back in here to see what will happen. But what happens when I grow with, this actually air prunes. So these roots dry out, and it forces them to make lots of roots everywhere. So when I pull this out, you know, it's not in the best shape ever right now, but there's roots everywhere. And normally when I would grow that, what would happen is all the roots would go straight to the bottom of the tray and it would make this mat. And all the dirt in the top, there would be no roots. And so what I've found is my plants seem to be stronger, seem to have more energy, because I am forcing that tap root to be burnt off, and then they make side roots. It's just like pruning. You prune the top off and you get more branches. So that's what's happening here, and I haven't really seen that. Normally I don't like to grow in trays that the roots are just like up against plastic, because they're just like struggling on the plastic, and you know, I don't really want to eat plastic so much. So these trays with the mesh, if you can find some like this, you grow in that, and then you're really, you know, your plant is really not in contact with that plastic so much, and things seem to be better. That's the idea with these pots as well. They root prune, so roots will come out here and it'll prune them off, and they'll stop and they'll make new roots. So like over here, I'm going to show you. You can see how the roots, they grow right to there, and they're pruned off. This one out here is the same.
Yep.
So they grow to these points and they stop. So it actually makes stronger plants if you're growing in pots.
Now with these sunflowers, could you take those right now and go, well, maybe not right now, but take them out and plant them and get big old strawberry or sunflower seed plants? You
could. If you were, I want to actually grow some of these this year, so I'll save my own seeds. These are oil seed. They're the black ones. They're really thin. They come off easy. So that's why people grow these for microgreens. And I don't really even bother taking the hulls off. What I do is I harvest them and I soak them in water for you know, 90% of the hulls come off anyway on their own when you're taking care of them. And I just soak them in water for 15 minutes or so, and then you know, if there's a hull that's still stuck on, I'll pull it off. But once it's hydrated, it comes off easier. Some of them, like, it could easily just tear this little leaf. This is the cotyledon. You want to harvest your sunflowers before they start making the second leaf or the true leaves,
right?
Because that's bitter. It doesn't taste so good. So, but I mean, these aren't the best ever, but they're not bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but they have kind of a fattiness to them. This one here will probably even be better. But they're great in salads and sandwiches, and I mean, to me they taste better than lettuce, you know. And they're almost free. I mean, I bought a big bag, like a 25-pound bag of sunflower seeds for like 19 bucks or something, and I've had it for 3 years, and pretty much everything sprouts. I mean, you just can't really go wrong.
Right.
For the amount, you know, it does take time. You know, time is money. So I might actually have 2 hours worth of work into each tray by the time I've planted it, and I sort the seeds. So when they come in the bags, there's pieces of the sunflower head in there, there's broken seeds, and what I found is if I have any of that junk in there that's not going to sprout, it can create a source for mold. And so what happens, it will make some of the sunflowers sick, their stems will rot, they'll fall over, the mold will start spreading. So if I take the time, like if I'm just sitting there on the couch drinking water or whatever, I'll just have some sunflower seeds in a tray, and I'll just sort the good ones over here and the junk over there, and that goes in the trash and the other goes in my jar. And whenever, I always kind of try and do it ahead of time, and when I have enough, you know, or whenever it's time, every time I plant, I start some more. Or, you know, you'll find out for yourself how often you need to start your new batch of sunflowers. If I do that every couple of days, then I have as much as we eat, a couple of people. So you could easily start some every day. I was doing that when I was keeping bees in California. I was living in that fifth wheel, and I would start a new batch every day. I was actually growing half as much. I was growing in a glass Pyrex dishes. It seemed to work as well, but I was harvesting one every day, and if I missed a day, I really had a lot of sunflowers to eat. So, you know, and I was planting peas every day too. So I had more food than I could eat, you know, and it doesn't take a special place. I actually had a light in the closet, and I was growing. I had the floor of the closet set up to grow, and I was growing peas on the kitchen table on the side. So you don't have to have, I mean, you could do a half tray this size, or you know, strawberry boxes, whatever, any kind of container that you have that's convenient. You could grow them in something like this. This would be sort of a waste of dirt if you use that much dirt.
Right.
So I think we're probably done in here.